So class 11, we will continue with our chapter Constitution from your political science syllabus. In the earlier two videos, you have learned about the definition of the Constitution and learn about the written and unwritten Constitution. Today, we will take up the remaining portion of the chapter. For the purpose of framing the Constitution of India, a Constituent Assembly was constituted or formed in the year 1946. It consisted of 296 members and included representatives from the political parties or the princely states. After the partition of India, the number of members in the Constituent Assembly came down to 229 members. It was subsequently raised to 235 members. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the permanent chairman of the Constituent Assembly, and a drafting committee was formed under the Constituent Assembly which took up the responsibility of drafting or framing the constitution. It was a seven-member committee and the chairman of the drafting committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The drafting committee submitted the constitution, the draft of the constitution, to the Constituent Assembly, which adopted the constitution on 26 November 1949. And the constitution came into force, or we started using or following the Constitution of India from 26 January 1950. Next we will learn about the preamble. The preamble is the declaration of ideals and objectives for which the Constitution stands. We can say in very simple language that it is an introduction to the Constitution. It gives us an idea about what the Constitution contains, or about the provisions in the Constitution. It is considered to be the soul of the Constitution. It is the philosophy and ideals of the Constitution are beautifully written in a very poetic language in the preamble, which helps us to understand the ideals and philosophy that we find in the Constitution of India, and it is considered to be the most precious part of the Constitution. The preamble, but we need to remember that the preamble is not justiciable, that is, we cannot enforce it. We cannot go to the court of law for the enforcement of any of the provisions or any of the matters stated in the preamble in the court of law. That is why it is called extra legal. That is, it cannot be enforced in a court of law. Yet it is very important part of the Constitution because it contains the ideals and philosophy of the Constitution. Let us find out the salient features of the Constitution of India. The first feature of the Constitution is that the Indian Constitution is the largest constitution. It contains 395 articles and innumerable sub-schedules and sub-articles, which make it the largest constitution in the largest and the lengthiest constitution in the world. And it is also a written constitution. No constitution can be totally written or unwritten, as I have already told you, but we find that the Indian Constitution, the major part of the Indian Constitution is a written constitution, so it is also the largest written constitution. Next we find that the Indian Constitution has adopted a parliamentary form of government and or a cabinet system. What does a parliamentary form of government means? That is, we find that the parliament or the legislature occupies supreme position, and it has a how do we know that it enjoys a supreme position? Because the members of the government, that is the cabinet or the council of ministers, are collectively responsible to the parliament, that is, they are answerable or accountable to the constitution. Without the provision of without the permission of the parliament or the legislature, the government cannot take any important decisions. The parliament makes laws and grants money to the government. It imposes taxes and also determines the administrative policies. The president, who is the constitutional head, but the cabinet responsible is responsible to parliament, which holds the real power, and there is a close relation between the parliament and the cabinet, which ensures that we follow a parliamentary form of government which has been formed on the basis of the British model. Next, we find that in the Constitution there are directive principles. What are these directive principles? These are, we can say, a guideline made for the government to follow while following their or while making the administrative policies. So these guidelines have also been given to the constitution. These are not meant for the citizens of India, but these are a guideline that the government needs to follow while framing its policies. Next, we find that the constitution contains the fundamental rights. That is, it gives these rights to the citizens of India. There are 6 fundamental rights, which includes the right to freedom of speech and expression. These rights are a very important part of the constitution, and all the citizens of India, irrespective of any kind of differences, that of religion, race, caste, sex or birth of place, whatever it is, they all enjoy these fundamental rights. These rights cannot be taken away from the people on any ground, that is until and unless it has been proved that he is not entitled to enjoy the fundamental rights. These rights are meant for all the citizens of India, and that forms a very important part of the constitution. In India, we follow single citizenship, and the constitution is also mentioning that we follow a single citizenship. Though we are a federation, we do not have dual citizenship like that of USA. Along with that, we find that the constitution not only gives the fundamental rights which the citizens of India enjoy, but it also gives them fundamental duties which the citizens need to fulfill. And these fundamental duties are for the citizens of India to follow, so that everyone can enjoy the rights that have been given to by the constitution. And we find that the constitution contains emergency provisions. That is, in case of an emergency in the state, what will be the powers of the president, who is the constitutional head of the state, and how the parliament is going to function, what should be the methods followed. Everything has been given or provided in the constitution. And at the same time, the constitution is talking about adult suffrage. That is, all adult citizens of India, they have the right to vote irrespective of any kind of differences that is based on religion, race, caste or sex. So people, irrespective of any kind of background or differences, have the right to vote, which is meant by a universal adult suffrage. And next, we find that in India, we do not follow a separation of powers. That is, the 3 organs of the government, the legislature, the executive and the judiciary, they work together. We do not find them working independently, because we have chosen a parliamentary form of government. Along with these, we find there are other features of the constitution, like we follow a federal structure. That is, we have 2 sets of government, one the central or the union government, and the states have their own government, and the power is distributed between the 2 sets of government according to the 3 lists. These 3 lists are the union list, the state list and the concurrent list. The subjects that are mentioned in the union list, on those subjects can be dealt with, or only the central government or the union government can make laws on these subjects. The items of the subjects mentioned in the state list are meant for the state government, and those which are included in the concurrent list, that those subjects can be dealt with, or both the union and the central government have the power to make laws on it. And again, we find that India follows a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and where we are have the right to follow any religion of our choice. We have the people have the power. We follow a democracy, and we are sovereign, that is independent from any kind of control by other states. Along with that, there is also the provision of the language provision. That is, we have so many languages. There are around 1,1818 spoken languages, and all these languages have been given a provision or a. We find that the Constitution of India enjoys a supreme position, and the Constitution needs to be respected and followed by the people of India, and also those who are governing the state. They also need to follow the provisions or the guideline given by the Constitution. So with that, we come to the conclusion of this chapter. And as you know that you have to follow the video carefully, read the chapter, and also write down the notes that are provided with the PDF.